and welcome to another exciting episode of Behind the Tactics Board with Jamie Harrison and myself, Stuart Beeho.
So this show is all about sharing our coaching knowledge, our experiences and some of our stories. The whole aim of it is to make better football players.
So coming up on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it's like working with a syllabus at a club. But let's start off with you, Jamie. What have you been up to this week?
So we've had a bit of a mixed week. We've had some sessions called off because of Storm Barra. For some of our younger ones, we run a under 6 to under 18 program, so we didn't want some of the younger kids to be blown away, so we had to call some of the younger sessions off, which is always frustrating. I never like calling off a session. Fortunately we did, because when we took the under 18s and later on in the day the wind was quite high and the rain was horizontal. We've also had our Christmas party, which we spoke last week about how we should have that connection with a player, but as a head of coaching of our centre, it's also very valuable to have that better relationship with some of our coaches. Quite often, I'm very guilty of this. I'm not a fan of small talk, and in my mind, I think I'm being professional whenever we're at training. I'm just talking about football and the players. But I should allow more time to build that relationship with each coach, because my job as head of coaching is to make sure the coaches are delivering the best session they could possibly do, in order for the players then will then improve quicker and have the right environment to develop in. So it was good having that Christmas party. They've probably seen a side of me that they don't normally see. And then just further build that bond of our staff together.
Within the coaches themselves, so you've got from an under 6 coach to an under 16 coach.
All out together, having a couple of drinks, it was a good evening. It was also our first week of recording Behind the Tactics Board. Yeah. How did you find it?
Strange to start off with, but I think once we got the ball rolling, it wasn't too bad.
So it's out of our comfort zone, isn't it? It is. So we ask our players to do things to stretch themselves and challenge themselves, and this is, I'm uncomfortable right now talking, but while we're doing this is we think we can bring real value to the coaching community, and I think from sharing our knowledge, my failures that I've had on my almost 30-year coaching journey, I think it will help a lot of our listeners, viewers, to help their coaching journey as well and improve their players.
Yeah, definitely. I heard a saying recently saying never sit in a comfy chair. So always find yourself in challenging positions, and always going to help out with your development. So I think this is definitely one of them.
And you've just been on the was it the high performance tour
podcast tour? Yeah, last night in Bristol. It was really, really good. Just to cover a recap of all the previous episodes, and it's even as a coach, it's always good to do that reviewing and analysing yourself, analysing what you might pick up. So yeah, it was a really good show last night.
Anything else you take away from it, other than, because you're a big fan of the podcast, aren't you? Show.
Yeah.
And anything did you get from the last night's show?
To be honest, like you just mentioned about failures, how important it is, because that is where we learn. It doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It is exactly, you fall forward, make sure you're learning as you're doing it, and to remember, failures can be a good thing.
Yeah, so I have this thing where I'm very hard on myself with all my coaching sessions, and after every session I would beat myself up. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But to let off that bit of pressure on me, in order to get to where I want to be, I have to have 1,000 terrible sessions, because through every bad experience I have, I'm going to learn that little bit more. Yeah. So that kind of took the pressure. So it's like a good thing that I come away from a session thinking, I didn't do that very well. But then through reflection, it makes me a better coach. So I'm about I was racking them up quite quickly, these bad sessions. But I see, as a growth mindset, I see failure as a real positive thing and a necessary thing in order to get me to where I need to be and to be the coach I want to be.
Yeah. And I've got Bobby Robson's one of my heroes, and he always mentioned he's never put on a good session.
Okay.
Because he's never going to be happy. He's always going to be tweaking it. He's always going to be reviewing it. So in his amazing career, he's sort of put one concession.
That's good. That makes me feel better as well.
So you said last week some of the sessions were cancelled. What about the ones that stayed on?
Yep. So we work to a 6-week syllabus, and this week is the best week. It's all about finishing the attack. So you expect high energy, lots of shooting, lots of goals. But I was a little bit annoyed with our coaches because some of the sessions, I think there was 2 shots at it, and this is all about hitting the back of the net and for the players to love it. So through conversations with the coaches, they got to understand where the key areas they're trying to work in for this one, where they were focusing mainly on the build-up play. You know, that's another week. This week is all about higher up in attack. I've observed some sessions, and there's only been 2 shots in a session. You know, this is all about being in the attacking third, crosses, through balls for finishes. So I had to step in a couple of times with some coaches, and there's been some really good session designs. So one in particular I'll show you with Steve. Very simple. You had a 20 by 20 box with goals either end, and goalkeepers if you had goalkeepers. 2v2 in the middle with floaters on either side. You can move up and down the pitch. So very small pitch, high energy, working for 2 minutes. Ball can go out wide. The yellow players are on whoever's got the ball. So if the Blues have got it, they're on the blue team. All about combining, finding that half a yard to get your shot off. It's a brilliant session, and then the Reds play, and then they can use the yellows and go through. And after 2 minutes, the Reds will swap out, the yellows come in. So absolutely brilliant session. Working very close, lots of different shooting. If ever you're stuck for a shooting session, quite often I think of ones where you have to move there. It's a pattern of play where the striker has to do a movement. But I found the best session that I put on is another one I've stolen. I think it was off someone called Izzy, Southampton. It's called Fox in the Box. So let's say we're in the box, we've got a 3v3, the ball is not allowed to leave the 18-yard box, the Blues and Reds are both trying to score in the same goal, and the coach is on the edge of the box feeding the ball in. So with this one, it's just a opposed game. There's lots of action inside the area where you want it to happen, and it's actually, I've found, better than any pattern or fixed drill that I've come up with for finishing the attack, because this is all about the right selection of your shot. It might be a power if you're further out, it might be power, it might be that Mo Salah curler into the far post, it might be a little toe poke if you need a quick chance, or a little dink. And then there's creativity involved. So it might be the 10 gets on the ball, forward run, as long as he stays on side, in that little reverse disguise pass. All this comes out in this game. It's brilliant for it. Then on the flip side, you've got the defending, where it's first to 5. The Reds don't want to let in a goal. Boom, they go and close down. They're getting on the right side. They're making sure they're following rebounds. It's excellent. And then all the job as a coach is just to keep that high energy going. You know, it's a real fun game. I normally finish with it when I'm ever doing shooting. Finish with it for the last 10 minutes, first to 5. You've got a pile of 10 footballs and you're just feeding the ball in wherever. And it's up to the Reds and the Blues to fight out for it. Hold off the opponent, 1v1, combine, and then get the shots off. And then when that ball goes dead, next ball goes on. And it's just a real high energy 2 to 3 minute game, first to 5. And it's really good for just like that fox in the box, who can operate calmly, composed, and with creativity in tight areas.
Yeah, I suppose like last week we spoke about how to create that intensity, and by the coach controlling the footballs, feeding them in, as soon as one ball goes out that zone, another one straight in, so there's not too, but there's no downtime in there at all. And that's even a little simple game like that. You still got lots of elements of football. You know, the transition's obviously always a key one. And if obviously Reds win the ball, play it to the coach, they become the small little areas going from attack to defence.
No, you can have it that way.
Yeah.
You can have it with outside players. I normally do it where it's just if the Reds win the ball, now they turn into attackers.
Yeah.
So it's that quick change, and then the Blues have to react to then come and close it down. I also, by having the balls myself, I can create situations. So when I might play out there, because I want to have that Mo Salah opportunity for the Blue to come in on his left foot and then curl it in. But then once that ball goes dead, I might pop it in over here where there's another situation going on where it might be a 2v1, and then they have to then take advantage of that before these boys come back into the game. I might also feed it through where these guys are starting to expect I'm going to feed it there. I'll feed it through to the red player. He's now one-on-one with the keeper. Now, before they can recover, he's got to have that composure and the right shot selection to then finish it off. And it can create these brilliant situations that you and repetitively that you want. That is better than any other drill that I've seen.
Yeah. So you mentioned even with the game previously was 3v3, 2v2, and obviously with some floaters. Is number of players quite important? So when I was working on what I was doing during the week, I was there by myself and I had 20 players. So it was quite a lot of people in one area. So there probably wasn't that success rate of actually, getting the goals. So would it be better to have broken it up, smaller groups, more repetition per player?
So that's what I see quite often as a head of coaching, where I'm going around session to session. I don't ever want to see players standing still, really. So with the higher number of, if you've got 20, I would have 2 groups split up, and then as much as you can, because if you've got an assistant, then you could be working on one pitch, they can be working on the other, and then in order to ensure the quality, then you would swap over to the other pitch, and the assistant will come and observe your pitch.
And what about if you didn't have the assistant?
Then you have to come up with another design.
So would you just not separate them and then quickly try and float often between them to make sure they're still getting the success?
Yeah, you can do, and I've done that many times before. But what I find, depending on if it's a passing drill, or what I've found with, if you're over on one, so let's say, here we go. So you're taking that pitch. I've walked over to this pitch and I'm observing here. You can get the intensity and exactly what you want out on the pitch you're observing. This pitch starts to go a little bit off. So that's where, if you've got an assistant, you can have him to observe that and make sure the standard stays high. Because then by the time you come over onto this pitch, then this pitch, the standard raises and that pitch starts to have a little wobble. So there's pros and cons to it. I like having 2 pitches, 3 pitches, because it means higher repetition, more players involved, and it gets the outcomes you want in a session. That's the downside, is will the players maintain their standards? Now, if you can get the environment right, and the culture of the club right, where they know they're in charge of their individual standards, so it doesn't matter who's watching, I am going to do the best I can possibly do and push myself to be the best I can be, if the coach is watching or not.
Yeah.
No, that's where it should go to. So if you're not comfortable splitting them up, then this is where then you would have the one pitch. Yeah, you have one pitch, and you just have to design the practice where you can have that high repetition. The repetition will be less, but you've designed a practice where there's going to be more shooting. The simple one we came up with last week was where there's a halfway line.
That's what I based it on. So the halfway, I did exactly that by the floaters either side as well.
Yeah.
So,
and that's one trick, is to increase the repetition on the inside. You add floaters on the outside, so there's less people in the middle. Then you have to be careful of how long are they stood off for. Are they engaged in the practice?
Yeah.
Are they used to bounce off? Again, it's how you drive that as a coach, and the demands you ask of the players. If they don't get it, and you said they weren't finishing from 2 yards out, were they? Yeah. So if they're not doing that, stop them, or stop the whole group if need be, or have have that individual chat with that player. Hey, look, you're in front of goal. Come on.
Yeah.
Use the right, finish it off there. Be ruthless. That's what that's what finish the attack is all about. Creating those chances and being ruthless with it. Having that bit of composure to finish off the attack, and that ruthlessness that whenever an opportunity comes, it's going to be a goal.
So obviously with our club, we have a syllabus which you've created. How did you come about creating that syllabus?
So I've worked with many different syllabuses, some which accounts for every week of the year that you're going to be doing a different thing. From you're going to be working on short passing this week, next week you're working on long passing, next week you're working on long passes and support play. And every week has been broken down into the detail of that. We work to a 6-week cycle. So our syllabus repeats every 6 weeks, and it's based on our playing style that we want to see from our centre. So we want to see players make the right decisions in possession, play from back to front, but if need be, they can recognise the right time to penetrate and move the ball further closer to the goal. Not just you have to play short. If the pass is on to play into the midfield or into the winger, that's the right pass to play. So effective possession. And then on the defending side, we teach in different ways, from the high press to the mid block to emergency defending. And then it's up to them on a match day. They then have those tools in their toolbox to, depending on what the opponent's doing and the situation they find themselves on, are they going to be a high pressing team, or is it the right time to perform that mid block? And then they're ready for all those scenarios.
So you create a 6-week cycle for the syllabus. So why have you decided on 6 weeks?
So it's based on our playing style, and we wanted those to be ingrained in our players. So whatever age group you're watching, you will see that our centre's playing philosophy come out. So we've done it over 6 weeks, so then it has a chance to repeat itself. And so we're hoping that with these 6-week cycles, you will start to see these patterns, and the players will start to identify these patterns because they're working on them so regularly. A season-long syllabus where they're doing different topics each week, I have found that you want to build upon what you've just worked on in week 1, and you probably don't get back to it until you're week 30. That's where you kind of lack that connection of learning to build upon what they're capable of. Within our 6 weeks, within the topic each week, they have different parts to that topic, and it's based on the age group as well, so it's different for each age group. And also it's up to the coaches then to identify, right, we've got the organisation bit right, we can now move on to step 2 of this topic, and each age group will be at different stages within that same topic. Everyone will be working on, let's say, finishing the attack is what the topic was this week. Everyone will be working on finishing the attack, but the under 10s might be working on something different in finishing the attack in the final third compared to what the under 15s would have been working on. And it's up to the coach, and it gives that little bit of freedom. Instead of us dictating to the coach, you have to deliver this, we've left that little bit of freedom, which I think coaches love about the job, to come up with what the session they want to have.
I think it's important to allow the coaches to have that freedom to express themselves as well, isn't it? Because I think also if you were telling the coach you need to be delivering this, then that's not there. You know, we're very different coaches, we have very different styles, and for me to then coach your session would make me feel awkward, and I wouldn't be able to deliver a good session.
Definitely, yeah.
And vice versa. So you need to have that freedom for the coaches to do something that they would want to do, because then they're going to have that belief in the session and enjoy the session. But if they were trying to do something for a different coach, they'd be like, oh, I'm not too sure about this, or not necessarily agree with it, or then the delivery of the session is just not going to be at the highest.
And that's it. You guys are working with your team and individuals a lot more than myself and our head of centre Josh are. So you can see what that individual, what the unit, what the team really need. And within that weekly topic, we might have 40 coaching points, but we're only asking you to pick one of them to really nail down the detail. And then the next time it comes round, you either think, do I need to repeat that with that same topic, or can I go on to a different little bit of detail? Yeah. And so they're over their 10-year period they're going to be with us, they're going to have so much knowledge and identifying situations and I've been in places where it has been dictated to you, where right, this is the session you're gonna. We have tried that way, where you're told you have to deliver this drill for this long. These are the coaching points, and then your whole session is planned out. And I found it just took the whole enjoyment out of the coaching. I think that's part of the magic is of coaching, and the challenge is coming up with that practice design. Now, what we do offer is best practices. So that isn't telling you you've got to do this. It's saying, like I've just explained with the shooting one, this works really well. Now, don't have to do it, but that might trigger a thought in your mind. Okay, I can see that, and I might tweak it a little bit and put my own little spin on it. Brilliant, and that's then the enjoyment that you get out of it.
Yeah, and it also helps the coach to again build a decision around their team. There's quite a common topic of like attacking wide areas or using the wingers. But if your team doesn't play that way, then you'll think of this is what the syllabus says I've got to do, and then you're trying to do it, then you're telling your team the wrong information, something you don't want to do. And then when it comes to Saturday, when you should be recapping what you've been teaching, then you're either going to be going against everything you've just said and not attack for wide areas and just try and attack narrow, or you're going to be changing the whole plan, and then the players will not have had time to learn and adapt, and then it's better not to have. Even attacking wide areas can be quite open, but if it's not your style, it's not your style.
So some teams will attack through the wingers, some teams will attack through fullbacks. And at our centre, we allow the coaches to pick the best formation for their group of individuals. Now, for some groups, that might be a 4-3-3. It might be a 4-4-2. I think for your team, it's a 3-5-2, isn't it, at the moment? That's really worked and benefited the personnel that you have within your team. I have been at other clubs where you have to be a 4-3-3 and you can't go away from it. And what you said was interesting. There's no point delivering a 4-3-3 session when you're working 3-5-2 because it just confuses the kids and you're not going to get the benefit. Again, that's where we ask, right, you're finishing the attack today. You then form a session based on your formation. Again, these are other conversations I've had with some of our coaches where they put on a session, they've got enough players to do it, and then they play a 4-3-3 and they've only playing 2 in midfield. Now, that isn't the picture they're going to see on the weekend. They're going to see a 3. How does a 3 work? You're not just playing a 2 because that suits your session at that time. You've got to come up with a way, and the players have got to see it. In that midfield 3, how are you going to break down the problem that you're facing right now? So I've created the syllabus with a lot of input from other people. Bits been stolen from here and there, and I think there's a bit of England DNA in there, and a bit from my previous clubs. So there's been a lot of influences on the syllabus that I've given to our centre. There's a lot of me in that syllabus as well. There's all the notes I've been making over the last 10 years of little random thoughts I've had after watching games or after many of my failures in training. They've been added into that syllabus. How have you found working with that 6 weeks cycle?
I think it's been really good. I think you can look from the other side of the fence from the parents' point of view to start off with. Seeing a whole centre working on the same topic, to see the information that's given out to them, I think it's a very professional outlook. So if they were turning up to training, they know all the age groups, what they're doing, and I think it looks really, really, really good when you compare it to other places I've been, and there's different things going on, and it can look a little bit messy. So it adds that little bit of professionalism to it. I think it also gives the support to the coach to go, right, the topic is this. And so the coach then has the freedom, like we've discussed, to go off and learn and showcase what they want to do. When it's just a blank canvas, a coach can possibly be overwhelmed and go, right, what do we need to work on this week? And then they could be picking topics left, right, and centre, and there's no flow from week to week. And probably the most common thing would be firefighting from the weekend. They've seen one little aspect that they were concerned about, and then they try and rectify it. And then it comes to Saturday or Sunday or whenever your game is, and probably not even thought about it again. So the sessions are only a reaction to what's happened, rather than creating something and building something and looking long term, which is what we're here for, to build with the players. adds that structure to us going, right, this week we're working on this. You might have seen something from the weekend that you can actually drip into the session, which is absolutely brilliant. But the main focus is going to be, right, we're working on our build section. And again, it helps have the structure for the coach to go, this is what we need to focus on this week. And not add to the pressure by the coach going, what are we going to deliver? How's it going to look?
Yeah.
And then it can add to the stress and possibly affect the session itself.
Yeah, so it's there as a guide, isn't it? And I think you said that that if without a syllabus, you could be a bit aimless. With a syllabus in place, whatever it is, a 6-week, a year-long thing, with a syllabus in place, it makes sure you're producing a complete player instead of just one that is good at crossing.
Yeah.
They work on the defending side of things and the attacking side of things.
Yeah, and it's all been structured around the game, so there's an idea around the game that's being built on that training session. Like when you mentioned previous ones you've come across, there could be a whole session about short passing, long passing. Well, it needs to be a bit more game related. It needs to be a bit more than just, right, for the whole hour or the whole hour and a half, we're just going to work on the short passing. From the player's perspective, are they really going to enjoy that session? You know, you can be a possession for a build, and then there's a whole point to it and why we're doing it. That's what the player's going to learn. There's a goal at the end of it, so they're going to be enjoying it. And there could be a lot of short passing within that session.
Brilliant. So that's where you thought that purpose of you're still working on a short passing technique, but there's a purpose and it's within a playing style and playing philosophy. And then what I've observed from the outside is we can really see an identity now starting to form in our centre, where in every age group they are trying to play the way the syllabus is designed. And as I go through every 6-week cycle, those patterns should get stronger and stronger. Now we're getting to a place where normally you're working on the high press this week in training, go and do the high press on the weekend, give it a try. Now we're getting to the stage where we've repeated the cycle a few times. It's now up to the coach and the players to recognise the situation they're facing in the match. It might not be on to do the high press. And then you've got to recognise that, and then actually we're not going to do the high press this week, but because we've worked on the mid-block in previous cycles, it's okay, not doing high press, we're going to do mid-block, and everyone knows now, okay, this is what we've got to do.
Yeah.
And then have you got any other ideas to make it improve the syllabus?
Personally, I think that the cycle is just about right, because it gives that repetition for the players. But as we sort of spoke about in our last episode, was it gives the coach to do repetition as well. So I don't think there's anything, I believe, anything wrong from a coach putting on another session. So as we've discussed finishing, there's nothing wrong with coming in 6 weeks' time doing the same finishing session, because hopefully the coach will have reviewed and tweaked it and hopefully made it better. But also the players are going to know what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's less time going, right, today's session we're doing this. If you've only got it for an hour and you've got to spend 10 minutes of that hour discussing what's happening, and you've reduced that to now 5 minutes, 5 minutes more game time. So I think the actual cycle is really good.
So with that, quite often when I watch coaches, a lot of the time they're just coaching the organisation of practice of how that drill works. And what you said is spot on. I would really encourage our coaches using syllabus. Right, this week we're working on building up from the back. So this is and to record your session that you did. So this drill I did, and reflect upon it. Did it work really well? If it worked brilliantly, then pick it up next time you come around to that cycle. Again, where our syllabus also allows for that is it's opposed topics every 2 weeks. So when you're building up from the back, the following week is going to be about high press. So while you're high pressing, the opposition, who you're probably not working with, the opposition will be able to work on building out from the back. So they're repeating that one. So there's still messages coming through. So you can repeat that same session again, and you're not having to coach your organisation. They get the organisation straight away, and you can get on with the actual coaching detail that you want to give them.
Yeah, I think also as a coach, when you're flipping it around, it's sorry, it'd be fantastic if everybody had an assistant, but in the real world, not everyone does. So it would be great to be flipping between your roles, but to remember, right, this week it might be defending, but it is still relevant to the previous week. So you still got to try and remember the message you said the previous week to talk to the strikers, just so you can drip feed that into them. So it can be, that could be sometimes where the challenge is for possibly working with a syllabus or a topic. It's just remembering what you have said from the previous week and try and remember that. Not, it's really hard to do because if you're just by yourself and you're trying to work in your organisation and that session, it can be very challenging. But if you could just do one or two, go, do you remember last week we did this? And they might go, oh yeah. So you did, but it does give the opportunity to make sure these messages.
And I think it's just about long enough as well that the players don't get too bored about repeating it, but they also they can remember now. Right, we're working on the mid block. This is what we're meant to do. So they've connected the learning from previously, their understanding, and then you can go, right, do they understand what we want from the mid block? Okay, we can now add that next layer of detail into it, and you can go a step further with them. And I think that's where it really benefits the players and the team as well. You can just keep there's more detail you can keep adding to every topic.
Thank you to everybody who's watched this episode. If you've got any questions, please contact us and we'll add them into the show next week. For now, from myself and Jamie, thank you very much. Goodbye.